reviewing the first appearance of Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. Hey everyone, it's vmcampos, comic book fan, Black Cat fan. In this episode of my series, I wanted to show the debut issue of Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat, one of my favorite characters in the Spider-Man mythology. Spider-Man is my favorite of all the superhero characters. I have a real soft spot for him, and his rogues gallery is just amazing. The Green Goblin, the Chameleon, Mysterio, Venom, Carnage, the Black Cat. She's a very fascinating character, and this is her very first appearance. So I'm going to take a long, loving look at this issue, Amazing Spider-Man number 194, as I go through it page by page and talk a little bit about the history of the Black Cat. So check down the description for the various chapter stops to jump throughout the video. So Amazing Spider-Man number 194, published in July 1979 at 40 cents. Dig this amazing cover. Spider-Man featuring a startling new villainess. Never let the Black Cat cross your path. And Spidey is totally dead as the Black Cat just pounces upon him with the usual spotlight that's on Spidey. The Black Cat, aka Felicia Hardy, is a consummate cat burglar. She likes to steal shiny things. She's had a variety of superpowers, including probability-altering devices that give her opponents bad luck. She's also got heightened athletic ability, speed, and the like. With her skin-tight black costume, silver hair, and these beautiful little tassels, she's quite a striking character if you meet up with her in a dark alley. She's had an on-again, off-again relationship with old Spidey, friends with benefits. She's been in various storylines where she's a criminal and trying to get reformed, and they're dating and all this good stuff. There's a really long storyline over in Spectacular Spider-Man series of the mid-'80s, early '80s or so, and the character is still around. She's been in her own various series that we'll look at a little bit later. Now, a few things before I dive into this book. If you look in the corner, what is this? Well, this is a barcode. Okay, it's the Newsstand edition. Nowadays, collectors are just going crazy over Newsstand edition comic books. Now, here's the thing, kids. Let me educate you. You want Newsstand edition of comic books that came out after 1985, because before 1985, all the comics were Newsstand editions. After 85, there were less and less and less Newsstand editions. So 90s key books in Newsstand edition version are big bucks. Like the first appearance of Carnage, Newsstand, that's big bucks. The first appearance of Spawn, Newsstand, that's big bucks. That's what you got to look out for. In the 80s, up to 1985, the Newsstand edition was the common thing because the alternative started to debut, the direct market, comic shops. So by the 90s, all your comics were basically coming out of the comic shop. Therefore, the Newsstand editions, the ones that were being published at newsstands, liquor stores, grocery stores, those were the ones that were more rare and then higher quality. That's why Newsstand editions past 85, past the 90s, are more valuable than direct editions. Well, that means there was a certain point where direct edition comic shop versions were less common. So between 1979 to 1985 or so, therefore 40 years later, are the rare ones, are the valuable ones. Direct edition comics before 85 are the valuable ones. Look again. This is not a Newsstand edition. This is a direct edition. This is a barcode crossed out by the publisher, Marvel, to indicate this is a non-returnable direct edition comic book. Newsstand editions could be returned back to the publisher. They usually tear off the front cover or the top, send it back, and get a refund. Comic shops could not return their merchandise, and therefore they kept back issues to sell and profit on. In order for Marvel to keep track of which was Newsstand, which was direct edition, they tried a couple of things. One is the number and price over here is slightly different. It's in a diamond rather than in a square, and also they experimented with the barcode in a few different ways. The early 1979 direct edition comics had a blank UPC symbol plus the diamond. Then they went with, the diamond plus the barcode but crossed out, and then they went with the diamond plus a Spider-Man face in the corner. So those are the valuable ones between 1979 and 1985. the seller didn't know that they were selling me the more valuable version of the first appearance of the Black Cat. They just said, yeah, here's first appearance of Black Cat for sale, buy now. And I did, and they didn't know that this is the more valuable version, like twice the price, especially in higher qualities. That's the one to be on the lookout for. Direct edition versions of early Spider-Man comics and the like. The crossed out barcode edition. Those are the big bucks. Anyway, that's enough showing off. Let's get on with the book. This is an Al Milgrom cover. Fun fact, this is the second version of the cover. The first version, I think, was a little too sexy to be printed way back in '79, so they changed it. It's still a cool, iconic cover, but the alternate original cover was a little too risque. Spoiler alert, there's actually a little thumbnail of that in this book here that I'll show you a little bit later. That cover was originally drawn by Keith Pollard, a pioneering African-American creator over at Marvel Comics. He did the interiors, and he was going to do the cover, but again, it was a little too risque perhaps, and then so we got this Al Milgrom variant cover that we all know and love decades later. Speaking of sexiness, so we still have fragments of that in the interior of the book, because here we have the very first appearance of the Black Cat interior is a shot of her backside, and Spider-Man looking on approvingly, perhaps. So the story is never let a black cat cross your path. Now again, I'm going to take a long, loving look at this comic page by page, so spoiler alert if you don't want to get spoiled by a comic book that debuted 44 years ago. And what's cool about looking at the original comics is you can get these reprinted, of course, in the modern glossy stock, the glossy paper and the modern colors, which I don't love as much. I love the originals. But getting the original books, you can also get all of this extra material, such as Battlestar Galactica t-shirts. Now, this BSG is the first edition of things. It's not the recent one with Edward James Olmos, even that's 15 years old now. But anyway, this is back in the 70s with the amazing success of Star Wars. We got Battlestar Galactica. Check out this t-shirt, only $4.99. Amazing. So we got the first page. Black Cat appears on a tightrope with the text, "Who is the mysterious woman scurrying with cat-like grace across a precariously thin strand of wire? Why is she here above police headquarters? What is she after? You'll learn soon enough. Spider file, but for now, be content with the following warning. Never let the Black Cat cross your path." So the Black Cat is breaking into the police station in the middle of the night, getting some documents, steals some documents, gets rid of the evidence, and then the next day. Okay, so basically she's forming a little bit of a crime group to do something. The first on her list is Bruno. Now again, this interior art, if you were looking at this as a little kid, maybe you didn't fully understand what you were looking at. But as a grown-up, there's a lot of sexy stuff that is happening in this book that is very subtle. Again, very curvaceous character. Here, the Black Cat just pounces on Bruno and he's like, "Hey, come join my gang." If you look very carefully, this is this is a great way to subdue a guy. A hot villainous character in skin-tight clothing just jumping on your face. So there's plenty of people that'll pay for that. But anyway, here Felicia is recruiting this tough guy Bruno Granger as part of her gang. Next up, we've got a couple of amazing ads from the time. We have these classic just jumble of ads here with a badly drawn Spider-Man and then the more professional fruit stripe gum. So you can pause it here and zoom in and see all of this amazingness that you miss when you look at the reprints. They still had the Body by Atlas sorts of ads and such, and I remember that Thor, even when I was reading Spider-Man and started reading Spider-Man in '87, there was this badly copied, ripped off Thor without his helmet being properly designed. And then how about a weekly newspaper for comic fans? It's the Buyer's Guide. And this gum, I remember this gum when I was a kid too. It was amazing. It was multicolored. I don't quite remember that zebra character, but I do remember the gum. And this just feels so 70s, that art right there. And then continuing again, what you don't notice as a kid, you definitely notice as an adult. Once again, Bruno is pinned down, staring up at the Black Cat in a position that most men would kill to be in, and women, from the Black Cat. So that's fun. The next person on her list to recruit is Dr. Boris Corpse. This one passes much faster and is less hot than when she recruited Bruno. Basically, he's this expert demolitions guy and like egomaniac and such, and she wants to recruit him as well for some sort of big heist or something. We don't know yet what's going on. cut over to Peter Parker visiting Aunt May at a retirement home, at a rest home. She recently had yet another one of her many heart attacks. And then here he is just like, yeah, I love you, Aunt May. All right, well, what is happening on this side over here? There's the director of this old folks home and then some weird guy over here saying about, this Parker kid, get him out of here. I need to get to Aunt May. I've got stuff to do. And the director's like, no, that's bad. Don't do anything bad. And he's like, oh, yeah, take this, Doc, and just slaps him across the face with a bottle and points a gun at him. Now, there's a lot going on here that people won't know what's going on until later. This doctor, for example, is not who he appears to be. He is a mystery-filled... He's Mysterio. Later on, we will know he is Mysterio. Sorry, spoiler alert. He doesn't look like Jake Gyllenhaal, but he's under disguise. More importantly, this tough guy here, longtime Spider-Man fans might recognize the brown and green clothing. This is the burglar that shot Uncle Ben that Peter Parker let go when his head was getting too big. And this is the cause of Spider-Man. This character here, who actually was never named ever, there's not like no real name for this guy. This is the guy that started off the whole journey of Spider-Man. And he's coming back in issue 194. All right, another spoiler alert. On issue 200 of the series, in our 200th issue, Anniversary Spectacular, against the man who killed his Uncle Ben, the Spider versus the burglar. So a storyline begins here in issue 194 that will culminate in issue number 200, this double size, double the thrills, Amazing Spider-Man number 200. Oh, and would you look at this? This is another one of these direct edition comics that the seller on eBay didn't know what they were selling. They thought they were selling the regular, more common newsstand edition. They were selling the direct edition. So again, pro tip, kids, when you're out there on eBay scouring the listings, pay very close attention to some of these variants. The direct edition early Marvel variants had a strikeout on the barcode. This is a direct edition. This is more valuable than the newsstand edition. Newsstand editions were plentiful at this time. After 1985 is when the newsstand editions were more valuable, especially in the 90s. First appearance of Carnage, first appearance of Venom, etc. in the 90s. In the future, that's what you got to look out for, the newsstand edition of key issues. Before 85, you want the direct edition. Anyway, this is the 200-issue double-size anniversary where Spider-Man meets again the man who killed Uncle Ben, the man who made the boy into the spider. All right, back to the story here. Continued after following page. There was a lot of ads in these early books. Sometimes people think that there's a lot of ads nowadays, but there were just as many ads in the old days. So again, pause it, check this out for yourself. Here we have, how about the Pete Rose batting practice toy? I bet this is a great toy. Pete Rose looks good, but these kids look completely cartoony compared to the real-life person. So, yep, anyway, pause it, check out all of these ads and stuff to yourself. Poems set to music. Amazing. All right, back to the story. So Betty Brant had a relationship with Peter Parker for some time. Eventually, she married Ned Leeds. They're having marriage troubles. This is an interesting character. No spoilers. He's the Hobgoblin. Whoops, I spoiled it. But not really. They didn't really even know who the Hobgoblin was going to be. They kind of shoehorned it in, and it's a big old mess. Go watch Comic Tropes. His video does a great job of explaining who the Hobgoblin was and was going to be, and backstabbing in the Marvel offices and all that. It's fascinating. Anyway, Peter has been fired from the Daily Bugle. J. Jonah Jameson finally got fed up and fired him. So where does Peter go? He goes over to the Daily Globe. Starts taking photos for them, and they're amazing. Jonah's angry. Spider-Man comes in to harass Jonah for a bit, but he says, hey, wait a minute, I know something. I'm going to ruin you. Because on a previous issue, Jonah and Spider-Man were tied together. Spider-Man got unconscious, and Spider-Man doesn't know if Jonah peeked under the mask. So he thinks, oh, he knows who I am. He's going to reveal this. I'm out of here. Back in his civilian outfit, he's over at the competitor, the Daily Globe, with a boss who is much, much nicer than J. Jonah Jameson ever was. All right, so how about some amazing t-shirts? Conan t-shirts. This Darth Vader t-shirt is cool, but what I'm laughing at is we wear spot built, just like O.J. Simpson in a Marvel comic. Amazing. And remember, if that shoe fits, you must acquit your money out of your wallet to buy them. You know what I mean. So back to the action over here. Spider-Man is swinging around on the rooftops, and then he sees the black cat. It's a girl, and she's stealing my act. So he kind of gets excited to see the black cat, follows her, and she's going off to some sort of illicit arms dealer where she's going to buy a whole bunch of hardware for some reason. So she's accumulating a couple of crooks for her gang, and she's getting a bunch of guns. What is she going to do? So Spider-Man is here, tries to stop the action. They battle. Black Cat holds her own very well, very good agility, bouncing off Spider-Man, really discombobulating him and just giving him a big ol' whomp in the face. She moves faster than I thought. Couldn't duck in time. I love how we all think about our actions in our minds as they are happening. And so they battle some more. Black Cat is just beating his ass. And then, of course, the prerequisite cat-like poses to really accentuate her cat-like abilities. And really bad puns. Mind if I butt in, cat? And so that's not nice there. Now, I noticed that in her outfit on several times her eyes are just simplified, but then when she's kind of got close-ups, they do draw in her eyes. And in the later incarnations, they focus a little bit more. They make the mask a little bit smaller. I kind of like that better. Her classic outfit here just kind of worked from day one, although they did fix up the domino mask a bit. So there's a lot of acrobatics going on, and then wouldn't you know it, the Black Cat's bad luck powers kick in. Stuff falls on Spider-Man. She's able to get away for a moment, but not fast enough. Spider-Man's pretty fast. So one of her other abilities is she knows what evil lurks in the hearts of others. So here she seduces Spider-Man for a bit. Hey, it's the classic lift up his mask just a little bit so we can get a smooch. We'll look at that in a moment. I just want to point out here, whoops, this coloring job didn't quite fully work out here. Forgot to put in some color here. Black costume, white costume, a little bit of a mistake, but I guess the colorist was a bit distracted. All right, so we have an ad over here. Sorry, we're all sold out. Life has no meaning without my latest Marvels. So subscribe, get a Spider-Man pen. Amazing. And then this great shot here. It's the classic kissing Spider-Man with his mask up a bit. It starts off this bit of flirting that the two characters have for a while. She's a villain, he's a hero, sparks will fly. It's a really cool story that they have together for several issues, on and off relationships and the like. They were kind of a team together for several issues in the next few years. Her kitty cat powers bewilder Spider-Man. She gets away, and he has some really jerky responses for the cops. You, what's going on here? We had a report of a disturbance. Yeah, there's a little tussle. Check the 4th floor, a creep named Emil Greco. He's got a gun collection I'm sure you're just dying to see. Hey, hold it. Don't go, I'll need a report. Ask Greco, maybe he'll write it for you. Oh wow, what a jerk. So anyway, we go back to the Black Cat's lair. We've got Bruno and Dr. Corpse. Black Cat lounging around. What are we going to do, boss? Why do we need all these guns, and what are we going to do? I'm going to break into prison, and you boys are going to help me to do it. She's going to break into a prison. She's amassed her team. She's got a bunch of guns. She's got a plan. What will happen? First, we got to do a couple of ads here. We got Micronauts, the Macabre Man thing. Okay, cool. This is what's important. Hey, America, we've got your cup of candy. Mallow cup, peanut butter cup, smoothie. I've heard of mallow cups, and these are just imitation Reese's peanut butter cups, I guess. But I've never heard of these smoothie. I don't think these even exist anymore. I'd love to give these a try. I haven't had a mallow cup in a long time, but I think they weren't that great. It's marshmallow flavor with chocolate, I think. And then, of course, everyone knows these are still around. But this smoothie, honest to goodness peanut butter flavor, inside and out. It's a peanut butter center topped off with a special non-chocolate crunch-style coating. Cool. And then also this sensational light rider. These old ads really take me back. All right, so more domestic troubles. Ned leads us, hey, stay away from my wife. And he's like, yeah, whatever, you can have her. And then he goes off to college and he meets his friends. We got Flash Thompson and Harry Osborn. So Flash Thompson was one of the first antagonists of Peter Parker, kind of a jock bully, but they became friends later. Spoiler alert, he became Venom years later. And then we've got Harry Osborn. Spoiler alert, he became the Green Goblin. So anyway, he fights with them. He skipped out on a surprise party and they're all kind of mad at each other. All right, so Peter's kind of lost in thought. He hears over the news, hey, Bruno Granger and Dr. Boris Corpse and stolen guns and files and such. And so he starts to put it all together. Something's happening at the police station or something. So here's the first appearance. This issue has the first appearance of Black Cat and Bruno and Dr. Corpse, but also April May, a new love interest for Peter Parker. She would come back in a few subsequent issues during this time period. And here he kind of brushes her off. He's got too much on his mind, and it's hilarious here. The nerve. He just ignored me. All right, Mr. Brown Eyes Parker, you won't ignore me that way the next time we meet. That much I promise you. Spoiler alert, she comes back as one of the most powerful supervillains in the Marvel Just kidding. She comes back as just a love interest for Peter Parker. But this intro of hers does make her look much more diabolical. She just wants to go on a date because he's dreamy. More ads. Shocking. A Superman ad in a Marvel comic. Flagship DC character in the flagship Marvel title. Spider-Man. I'm just shook. I don't even know how much did DC Comics pay Marvel Comics to put this in here. Is this even an official DC ad? Because they're selling kryptonite rocks. And this is just kind of so weird and hilarious. Attention, friends of Superman. Do you really want to be a friend of Superman? All right, great premise and then contradicting yourself. Well, now you can by owning a kryptonite rock. So the thing that can kill Superman will let you be Superman's friend. Amazing. At least it goes in the dark. Probably full of lead and toxins. All right, back to the action. So Peter's putting it together, trying to break into prison for Walter Hardy, an old man kind of dying in prison and so forth. So, like, what could the Black Cat want with this old burglar? So he's there to kind of stop things. She gets the drop on him. She beats him up some more, distracting him for Bruno and Dr. Corpse to attempt to break out Walter Hardy. Spoiler alert, Walter Hardy is Felicia Hardy's father, and she's trying to free him. He's dying in prison. It's a long story. She's trying to free him from prison so he doesn't die in prison and instead comes back home with his family, with Felicia and her mother. Heartwarming. Got more action here. Black Cat holds herself against Spider-Man pretty well. We'll get back to that one moment. We interrupt the action, however, for, an ad, but then also these really cool bullpen bulletins. Stan Lee, quote, Stan Lee, is writing all of these cool things about here's what's coming up in the new comics from Marvel, various projects that we have. One of our employees got bit by a snake, but she's recovering. So I'll let you pause it right here and read it all for yourself. There's a lot of fascinating stuff in these old bullpen bulletins. So there you go. Pause it there. Check it out on your own. Check it out on the brand new fun activity book that's coming soon. Yep. And then this is hilarious. Okay, Fantastic Four comic. So Fantastic Four cartoon, but without the Human Torch because they didn't want kids to set themselves on fire. So instead we have all new Herbie the Robot. Amazing. And then one of the classic Hostess fruit pie types of ads from back in the day. The Thing is battling the ultimate weapon. Here comes Torgo. They battle for a little bit, but wait a minute, how about we have fruit pies instead? And everyone becomes friends. Kind of ends in a weird way, though. I would only wish that we too could enjoy some Hostess fruit pies. Sigh. So don't try to kill Earth's mightiest heroes. Just buy fruit pies. All right, back to the action. And it's quite an action here. Black Cat uses, again, her bad luck powers, later kind of retconned to be probability... What's it called again? I made it here in my notes. Quantum probability pulsator. Basically, it gives people bad luck. So, ta-ta for now, love. Distracts him, everything blows up, he gets crushed and everything. Spider-Man, I'm truly sorry for all the bad luck you've been having, but I warned you before, didn't I? Never let the Black Cat cross your path. And it ends right here, next issue, the origin of the Black Cat, her dreaded secret revealed. All this in the most shocking ending in the Marvel Age of Comics. The 9 Lives has the Black Cat. And that's the first appearance of the Black Cat, part 1 of 2. Here we have a letters column, but more importantly, we have these kind of behind-the-scenes info on some interesting things. The very first sketch, the very first idea of the Black Cat, drawn by Dave Cockrum, is right here. So very close to what we would get in the end. Let's get a close-up of that. This is like real Marvel history right here. The very first sketches of the Black Cat by Dave Cockrum. Now, we see here in the rest of the text, pause it and read that for yourself, but... she was going to appear in 2 covers. She was going to appear in Spider-Woman number 9, but they actually scrapped that cover and did another cover. They did this cover right here, actually. So she was going to appear there. And here is the mythical cover I was saying that was a little too sexy for back in the day. A little bit too much booty for that cover. Keith Pollard's original artwork was then scrapped, and instead we got this Al Milgrom classic cover right here. So I don't know, is this a little too risky for the time? And what's really interesting is that that cover was actually eventually reprinted as a variant cover in 2017, decades later. This is Keith Pollard's original work with some brand new colorization here and a very ugly logo, for Great Lakes Comic Con. Variant cover, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 7 or whatever, number 23. This is after the Dr. Octopus, Superior Spider-Man, Return of Spider-Man stuff. The regular covers were Alex Ross. But here, this is amazing. When I saw this, I had to have this. I knew that there was the original art that was too sexy for 1979, and then it became a variant cover decades later. New colorization, modern colorization, but this is the original cover. Imagine this, way back in 1979, and young boys and girls picking up the Amazing Spider-Man and seeing this bootylicious cover. It might have been too much for them. So instead we got the front side. Now Stan mentions in the editorial there that there just wasn't enough in that cover. That was a nice way of saying that it was too much on this cover. So they flipped it around. Milgrom flipped it around, and it's the exact same scene. You can see there the light hitting Spider-Man, and she's pouncing on him, and it's technically slightly different. The pose is a little different. He's looking back much more than over here. I always thought he was kind of looking at us, but according to this, he was kind of looking back. And then her crouch is a little bit different. So notice also she had flats in this edition, and then she had high heels on this one right here. So even deadlier. You don't want to get kicked in the head with high heels, let me tell you. So this was the original cover redone decades later. And that basically ends the book there. The first appearance of Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. And that basically ends the book. We've got a couple final ads. We've got a bunch of gimmicks and jokes and stuff. And then, of course, BB guns. Action, power, accuracy, shoots BBs and pellets. They were misusing the apostrophe even back then. And then the final ad in the back is one of these rip-offs of sell stuff and get stuff. This never worked. Tell me in the comments if you were ever part of this crew of selling stuff. Did you ever actually get anything good? But anyway, that was the first appearance right there of the Black Cat. She is a character with a long, rich history in the world of Spider-Man, and eventually she also got her own series. Here in the 90s, we got the 4-issue limited series, Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. Fabulous first issue, guest starring Spider-Man. So it's this classic 90s goodness. Let's get a close-up of that. The costume is still pretty much the same as ever, black and skin tight. As I said, they changed the mask a little bit, and then we got here some classic Rob Liefeld-esque speed lines, and then also the eyes, and then the starting to get into the bad girls comic craze of the 90s. And this was a logo that would stick even today. The recent Black Cat series still has this logo right here, pioneered back in the 90s, just about 30 years ago. Issue number 1, direct edition. She also had another solo book over here. This is another limited series. Several years later in 2010, we got these beautiful Amanda Connor covers with the various creative teams right there. Very cool. Another cool cover on there. I think I've got issues 1 through 3. I think I'm missing 4. No, actually, on this one I've got 1, 2, and 3. I'm missing 4. On this one, I think I've got only 1 and 2. She rides a skateboard on this one. Much more recently, Felicia was in her own Black Cat series. See, again, it's the same logo from years and years. Beautiful Peach Momoko variant cover over here. Jed MacKay created a 2-year-long epic story that I'm kicking myself I slept on. I got the first issue, I thought it was cool, and then 1.5 years later passed, and I started to get some of these for the covers, and then started to read the books, and I'm like, I'm missing this amazing story. I'm missing the return of the strong, sexy, independent Black Cat. Dr. Corpse and Bruno are back, so that's really cool. And just a world-spanning adventure with a really interconnected story that I enjoyed. Don't sleep on this book. If it's in collections, get the collections. If you want the full story, get the individual issues. So many amazing variant covers. Jed MacKay stayed as the writer throughout the whole 2 years of it all, with a variety of different artists that were all pretty amazing. Spoiler alert, it all basically culminated in the Black Cat stealing the Infinity Gauntlet. Look at this beautiful cover right here. Again, do yourself a favor and go back to the recent Black Cat series. They're just so good. She's been one of the many loves of Spider-Man. They've been teams and such. They've been friends with benefits. But then there's always been the conflict with Mary Jane Watson. So in the most recent Black Cat appearances, here we have a one-shot Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond. They have a one-issue series together with a bunch of variant covers. This is the Peach Momoko cover. Really fun, really cute. This one is the someone or other. I'll put their name up over here. Sorry about that. Really cool art. I love the wind-blown aspect of it. Mary Jane looks amazing. Black Cat looks amazing. We have a J. Scott Campbell variant cover. You see any damsels around here, Red? Not a one, Hardy. And so, spoiler alert, there's some amazing Mary Jane cosplay in here. She cosplays as the Black Cat. It's really fun. And then finally here, you could say I'm a fan. So I got a lot of these variants. And here we have an Humberto Ramos variant cover. Really cute here. I love how she has this little cat t-shirt and kind of lanky, his lankier style over here. But really fun Spider-Man head in the background. Really cool expressions on that. So this was the most recent Black Cat appearance. Check it out. It's a one-shot, although you really need to have read the previous series to know anything that's going on here, especially also the main Spider-Man stories. And then again here, something about an Infinity Gauntlet. I spelled way too much, but there were 2 years worth, about 25 issues or so, of this Black Cat volume something that debuted a couple of years ago, 2017 or so, and it all started with this Peach Momoko cover. So be on the lookout for these. I highly recommend them. This series is pretty nice. There's another one also. I have it in my collection. I forgot to take it out. Spider-Man, The Evil That Men Do, Hearts of Men of Evil, something like that. It's got some Rachel and Terry Dodson art. I'll put it right there. It's really cool. And then, of course, the original solo series, Felicia Hardy, The Black Cat, issues 1 through 4 with some 90s goodness. And it all started with The Amazing Spider-Man number 194, published in 1979. Still only 40 cents. And now I'd like to hear from you. Are you a Black Cat fan too? Do you play her in the Spider-Man video games? Are you waiting for her to debut in the MCU? Do you enjoy her various sexy covers? Or do you pick up her books for the articles? Tell me about it in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed this long, loving look at the first appearance of the Black Cat. Are you interested in me showing off even more of my Black Cat comic collection? I've got a bunch. Tell me in the comments if you'd love to see them. Are you waiting in bated breath about what happens in this plot? We'll just get issue 195. Does she rescue her father from prison? I don't know, but remember, never let a Black Cat cross your path.